Starting it now. Hi there, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the first how-to webinar of 2021. Just feel like a little while since we did these, but great to have everyone with us. So again, delighted that we've got Phil Story with us today. I'm going to be handing over to Phil in a second, but as ever, if people have got questions or just general comments as they go through, please kind of put them into the various boxes, either the Q&A or the chat box. I'm starting this event, but I'm currently at home and having a few Wi-Fi issues, which might mean I have to drop out a little bit. But Phil looks like he's going to be fine, so he'll be able to kind of take you through it. So yeah, fingers crossed. So Phil, I'll kind of hand it over to you to kind of introduce the session, and and I hope everyone gets plenty from it.
Man, thanks, Mike. Hope the Wi-Fi holds out. So, good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining us on this webinar, and hopefully, for those of you that aren't able to make it this morning, you'll manage to catch up later in the week. As you might have guessed, for those of you that know me, this is obviously all going to be about your website, and particularly this morning, focusing on a few tips just to try and help you get a bit more out of your website. Over the years of kind of working in this industry, it's very common that we sort of see small businesses invest that money into getting their website built, but then kind of don't really do anything with it after that. So my company, Glow, is on a bit of a mini mission really to get small businesses doing more with the website. There's so many things you can do with it these days to help drive your business forward. So hopefully some of the tips I give you today, even if it's just one of them, that's kind of my goal really. If you can take one tip away, action it onto your website, then I think this has been a success. So I'm just going to start by sharing my screen with you all. If you bear with me a second. This is always the bit where I hold my breath. Okay, it should be that. Yes, there we go. Great. Okay, so I'm going to dive straight into it. I did say this a couple of seconds ago, but yeah, the goal from today really is that if you're able to come away with one actionable tip that you can implement onto your website in the next few days, next week or so, then that for me is a success. Just before I actually just get started, I'm going to open this, try and open anyway, this Q&A and chat box, because I don't want to miss any questions that you guys might pose. Typically, it's not going to show me Q&A. So if you're listening at the moment, if you have got questions, the chat box would be the most helpful place for you to put them, because I can see that while I'm sharing my screen. I can't see Q&A.
If anyone does go into the Q&A, I'll keep an eye on that for yourself, and obviously
appreciate
jump
that.
If we need to.
Great, thanks, Mike. So this is the phrase we've most commonly heard over the years when we've been talking to businesses about creating a new website for them or redeveloping a new website. We ask them, if you were sat in front of your ideal website now, how would you want people to describe that website? And they all say user-friendly, easy to use, make it easy to use. It comes out in every single conversation. And I guess that's because it's sort of an obvious thing that you would want your website to be. But with that, it's still amazing how many sites actually aren't easy to use. And hopefully off the back of today's webinar, you will be able to take some steps to make your website a little bit easier to use. So it's clearly absolutely key to make sure that it is, so that you can get your potential customers through and doing those sorts of things that you want them to do on your website. And clearly, the harder you make it, the opposite is going to suggest that the less likely that people are to inquire. So it's all about building credibility of your business online. I've literally just before this webinar started, put a post up on LinkedIn about an article that I wrote on a website called Disruptive Live, which talks about the importance of properly maintaining your website and that being a key part of your digital strategy. We hear all the time, day in, day out, about social media, advertising, digital marketing, SEO, but we don't hear as often about the not so sexy maintenance and support side of life, which is super important to ensure that credibility of your business is enhanced and maintained online. So here's an interesting statistic for you, which is that 75% of people base a company's credibility on their website. So if you've ever thought that your website isn't important, or you're a small business and therefore you only need one page or whatever, then just think about this statistic for a second, because obviously people search online all the time for the sorts of things that your business does. And if they find your site and it's a mess and it's hard to use and it's slow to load and it doesn't work on mobiles, they're going to build up that impression of your business that actually you haven't really got stuff together. And they're very unlikely to make an inquiry. So, do an honest assessment of your site, and does it, speak volumes of you as a business and a person? Is it doing you justice? So think about that credibility aspect as we go through the webinar today. How it looks is clearly a big part of that, and how it works on mobiles and how it responds to their journey, of course, is that they're all key things. So what is it that you want people to actually do on your website? It's very different for lots of websites. I know for the Northern Affinity, as an example, a key thing that they want people to do is apply to join the Northern Affinity. Whereas on the Glow website, we want people to start a free trial of our service that they get for 30 days. So every website is different, but have a think about that. What is it that you want people to actually do on the site? And once you know that, put those things in front of them very clearly, which I'll touch on actually a bit more later in the presentation. Okay, so we'll dive into a few tips then to get your website doing more for your business. There's about 7 or 8, I think, off the top of my head. So number 1 is to create SEO optimized content regularly. Now, content can take a number of forms. The one that would spring to mind probably first would be blogs and the written word. But of course, content takes lots of different forms these days online. So clearly you could have videos, you have email content that goes out to people. Audio is growing in popularity. I see lots of blogs now on websites where there's the written blog, but then there's an audio option as well, and you can click play and listen to that blog. So when I talk about SEO optimized content, don't just think the written word. But of course, that is still extremely important. Google will still place an element of how it ranks your website based on the written content within it. So you can work with, for example, you could work with a freelance SEO person, somebody who's very good at keyword research, or you might already have a digital marketing agency that you work with that can help you with this, so that you know that when you're writing content for your site, it's actually got a base in keyword research. And what that means is that people are actually searching for the content that you're writing about. We also have seen over the years lots of blogs where it's a very sort of salesy kind of blog. So estate agents are a good example of that, where they're sort of using the blog almost as a way to try and sell the houses that they've got, which of course is the ultimate aim, of course. But for the blog itself, it should be more about demonstrating your knowledge, the fact you've got your finger on the pulse, and if you can do it using keyword research, it's that kind of content that people are looking for. The idea being off the back of all this is that you increase the traffic to your site. It's a great way of doing it. It's that kind of an organic way of doing it without you having to pay for advertising, or sometimes not even paying for a marketing agency. You could just use a freelancer or take a look at some tutorials yourself about keyword research. But the key is create lots of content regularly. If you can embed it in keyword research so people are searching for it, even better, you will increase your traffic. The second one is declutter. If you saw my webinar before Christmas, early December time, you'll remember this one, hopefully. Take a look at this site, cruise.co.uk. We're going back a few years, about 7 or 8 years with what it looked like then. So I really hope it doesn't look like that now. But I think you'd agree that's a pretty cluttered first screen. When you open this particular website, there's 1,000,001 things that you could click on. I have absolutely no idea, looking at that, which one they want us to do most. And you get this sort of choice paralysis, I guess, where you're sort of sat there thinking, oh my God, what do I do? And it's very likely that you would leave actually and try and find another cruise website that is a bit easier to get around than sit here and look at that kind of melee of information. So go away and have a look at your website. Really hope it doesn't look like that, but critique it. And clearly this is an extreme example, but do you have like 5, 10 different buttons all on that first page where you're asking people to do stuff? Are they sort of salesy kinds of messages, or are they more like this one? You might have heard of Meow. So this is a good example of a site where you know exactly what Meow want you to do when you land on the homepage of their website. No prizes for guessing. Of course, they want you to book onto a Meow. I can see 2 buttons on that homepage. They both say the same thing. And the rest of it is very clean, nice little image to support the explanation of what Meow is and what they do and how networking with them is a good thing. But then the clarity of what they want you to do is it couldn't be more clear. Book onto a Meow. If we go back to that one, it's the complete opposite. So make sure you declutter and be very clear about what you're saying and what you want people to do. So it'd be great, go away, open your website, have a look, compare these 2 examples. Which one is your site most like? If it's somewhere in the middle, you're moving in the right direction. If it's something like Meow, then I think you've got a tick in the box for that. But it's really important to declutter. The third one kind of sort of goes in tandem really with decluttering, but it's this notion of being very clear with the written word on your website. So I put UVP in brackets there. Should have a sip of my brew, excuse me. UVP stands for unique value proposition. And essentially that is your kind of explanation of your business or services wrapped up into a very small sentence or 2 right at the top of your homepage when people land on it. So if I go back to Meow again here, there it is, business networking, when you want, where you want, as often as you want. Nice and clear and very obvious to see as well in that bright blue writing. If we go back to that one, absolutely no idea what their unique value proposition is. So have a think about that and make it extremely clear, not just in actually what it says, but in the design in terms of having lots of space around the words so that it's really obvious to actually see it. So here's a poor example of a unique value proposition. Remember that word clarity. Revenue-focused marketing automation and sales effectiveness solutions unleash collaboration throughout the revenue cycle. What on earth is that supposed to mean? And how on earth are you going to capture people's attention with that kind of value proposition on the homepage? Doesn't really mean anything. You're certainly not going to stop people in their tracks. Something like this, however, from a company called Office Vibe, is a great example of unique value proposition. They've got a very short, punchy main heading, the best teams run on trust. Fine, so we already know this about teams. And then underneath that, they've got a little bit of an extra explanation. So build trust, strengthen relationships, succeed as a team, blah, blah, blah. So you already, after like 2 seconds of landing on that website, you know what Office Vibe is all about. And the unique value proposition is made up of essentially what you can see there in the middle of the screen. So you've got a short, punchy main heading. Then you've got a sentence or 2 extra, which just goes into a little bit more detail, expands on that heading, if you will. And then you've got the call to action. So the best teams run on trust, a bit more of an explanation, try it free. That's what they want you to do. You can also see another one up in the top right corner. It says get started free. So a little bit like the Meow site, it's very clear what Office Vibe want you to actually do as a customer on that site. So that is a really good example of a clear, both in terms of design, you can very easily see it right in the middle of the screen, and the words. It's a very clear, unique value proposition. I'm being very biased now, but this is the Glow site. Similarly to Office Vibe, you've got a clear headline in the middle of the screen, your website constantly monitored. So we're telling you as the potential customer, we're all about your website and that we look after it all the time. And then we go into a little bit more detail about it. And then we ask you to start a free trial. So that's what we're wanting you to do. Underneath the free trial button, you'll see a few extra little things that we call boosters. So this can also be part of your unique value proposition where you kind of chuck in a few little extras, if you will, as part of the action that you're asking people to take. So we're saying here at Glow, there is no sign-up fee. There's no contract to tie you in, and you can cancel whenever you want. So it's just sort of an extra way to entice those people who might be thinking, yeah, okay, I think I might start a free trial. Oh, look, actually, there's no sign-up fee, there's no contracts, and cancel whenever I want. I'll definitely start a free trial. So that's another good example. I know I'm being a bit biased, but it's another good example of a clear, unique value proposition that's an extremely important part of your site. And if you nail that, you're on to a winner, because you've really got that sort of 4 or 5 seconds to capture people's attention. It's such a short space of time. If you give them that, you just forget it, basically. So be nice and clear with that first impression that you're giving people. So another action, just like the last tip, go onto your site, have a look, and is that main heading at the top really, really obvious and clear and literal, so that you're giving that good explanation of your business to companies. Never say, welcome to our website, as if people aren't going to be welcome on your website, right? So if you've got welcome to your website, get rid of it. It's a waste of space. Go back to that unique value proposition and really think clearly about exactly what it is your business does and how it is of benefit to potential customers. Another quick sip of my brew. Number 4, keep it secure. That rhymes, didn't realise. Oh, okay, I'm talking on this slide only. Similarly to the post I just put on LinkedIn that I explained before we started this webinar, looking after your website, maintaining it, looking after anything really, maintenance, servicing, think about your car. It's not a sexy thing, but it's an essential thing. You know it's essential with your car. It's exactly the same with your website. There are people all over the world, hundreds of thousands of them, that are trying to hack into your website day in, day out. It's as simple as that. And if you leave it to chance, eventually they will. And that could be very damaging to the reputation of your business online. You never want people to do a Google search, find you, click on it, and then there's some horrible, dodgy content on there that you have let happen because you've not kept it secure. To keep it secure, you can work with a reliable maintenance company. Clearly, my company Glow do that. Or you could take some simple steps to just at least get the basics in place, to check in on your site on a weekly basis. Are there any security updates that need doing? Are the things working as they should do? Is there anything that doesn't look quite right that you know you didn't add yourself? Just start getting into that habit of checking your site on a regular basis to make sure it's secure, because believe me, you will get hacked if you don't keep it secure. It's just an absolute inevitability. Number 5 is the sticky header, which is a really common practice now in web design generally. And you'll have seen it lots of times. You've probably already seen it today, I would have thought, if you've been online on any websites. And the idea of implementing a sticky header onto your site is twofold, really. Firstly, you can keep that main call to action in view constantly. So if you think about when you start scrolling down a website that doesn't have this sticky header, all that great information that you've got up at the top in the header, usually where the logo and the menu is, you lose it as you scroll down. Whereas with a sticky header, it stays in view all the time. So you can always ensure people can easily get to that main call to action. And it also means that your main menu is easily accessible. Clearly, your main menu is very important because that's your signposts to people to get around the site. And again, without it, as soon as you start scrolling, the menu's gone. People have got to get all the way back up to the top again. If it's a long page, it's a bit of a pain scrolling to the top. So the sticky header means that those two things are always in view. Northern Affinity is a great example of a sticky header in place. So I'm actually just going to break away. Oh no, I can just click. Let's see what this does. Ah, amazing. So if I scroll down now, note the white bar at the very top where it says the Northern Affinity and it's got contact details and menu on the right. As I scroll, that header follows me all the way down the page. It's quite a long page, quite a bit of information in here for you to click on. As I keep scrolling, it follows me all the way. So I've got the phone number all the time, I've got the email address all the time, I can see the social media, I can apply to join, I can explore the website through the main menu all the way to the bottom of the page. So that's a really good example of, as you scroll, that header stays with you at all times. Oh, a minute, sorry. There we go. Yeah, so next action, have a look at your site, scroll down, and does the header follow you down the screen? If not, have a quick chat with your web developer because it's about a 5-minute job for them to implement. And that'll be a really good tick in the box as an action done that will have made your website easier to use and in turn will help it to start doing more for the business. Number 6, I've sort of touched on this already with the unique value proposition and being clear in what you're saying on the site and how it's designed. Call to actions is very much part of that. They are the things that you want people to do when they're on the site. And there's a good statistic again here. We all like a stat that 70% of small businesses actually fail to clearly outline call to actions on the website. Could be a number of reasons for that, of course. They might have tried to build the site themselves, which is more common these days with online website builders. or they've worked with a web developer that doesn't understand the marketing and commercial aspects of business well enough. Call to actions are extremely important on a site. Otherwise, people are going to be left wondering, how do I do this? Or what do I need to do next? You know, whereas with call to actions that you've properly thought about, you're telling them exactly what you want to do next. Which is exactly what this slide says. What do you want them to do? Phone you, complete a form, download a guide, exactly. Come back to this example again, no idea what they want you to do. I mean, there's probably 1,000 things that they want you to do in there, but it's not clear. Whereas on your website, you can be super clear about what it is you want people to do. It's very, very important. I've had a question come in. It's from Mike, actually. So about pop-up, so booking events, arranging a call. A lot of people hate pop-ups. I've heard that 1,000 times before, but they are an extremely effective way of getting an inquiry from a potential customer, or at least just getting their email address that you can then follow up to market to. So it's a great question, Mike. And we tend to err on the side of the fact that pop-ups can still be used very well if they're kind of a little more discreet and just used more strategically, instead of bang in your face a massive pop-up that you've got to interact with when you land on a site. So you can implement them really cleverly these days by doing things like only showing them after a certain amount of your page has been scrolled past, which sort of suggests that people are quite interested because they scroll 3/4 of the way down the page. Then you can show them a pop-up, or when they're reading a particular blog that they might be interested in, or when they're about to exit your website. So you know the little cross in your browser tab at the top of your screen. As you move the mouse to click close the website, then you can put a pop-up there to say something like, oh, you know, don't go, we'll give you 10% off or whatever. So there's some really strategic ways that you can use pop-ups now. So I hope that answers your question, Mike. Okay, so call to actions we were talking about. I'll bring back in these two examples again. We've seen the cruise site where we're not really sure what they want you to do. Meow, again, good example of a really strong call to action. There's only one, and they want you to book onto a Meow. So it's really clear. So again, go back to your website, have a look at it. Is it really, really obvious what you actually want people to do on your site? If it isn't, think about these, you know, this example of Meow, go back to the glow one in my presentation and Office Vibe, and just take a look at the way that they've been set up to really guide people through to that kind of next thing that they want you to do. So that wraps up the sort of tips from Glow today and myself around you know, helping you to make your website do more for your business. I'm going to recap them quickly, and then if there are any more questions, I'm of course happy to answer them. And if not, I really appreciate you listening to this whenever you do, and hopefully it's going to help your website work a bit harder for your business, because it really should be doing. I mean, it should ultimately be the best salesperson in your company. It should be your website, the amount of traffic that it should be getting, and those regular amounts of inquiries. So I'll just quickly recap the tips. Number one was to create regular SEO optimized content for your website so that you know it's bedded in keyword research that people are actually looking for and searching for. Even if it's just 50, 60, 70 searches a month for this kind of topic, get it written about or get a video created for it, get it on your site. And over time, it builds up that amount of potential traffic to your site. Number two is declutter. Please make sure your website doesn't look like this. Please make sure that it does look more like this. Give that space for people to see what it is that your business is all about. Number three, make the main headline, that top section, the unique value proposition, make it extremely clear. Not that which is just fluff and too long and people won't get it. Remember that 4 or 5 second rule. They're not going to hang around for long. So make it more like that, really structured, short main heading, bit of a description below, and then a call to action. So Office Vibe and Glow, 2 good examples of that. So it's that literal wording that you're after. And if it says welcome to our website, get rid of that because it's a waste of space. Number 4, keep it secure. I mentioned that this is the less sexy side of websites and digital and stuff, but it's extremely important. You wouldn't let your car go 4 years without servicing, so don't let your website, you know, and that would be far too long for your website, given how often hack attempts and things occur on sites, every 39 seconds, by the way. So make sure you're looking after it and checking in on a regular basis to see that things are okay. Implement the sticky header. So that's the one that follows you down the screen so that you can keep your main call to action and the main menu in view all the time for customers. So it's it's just all that. It's that notion about not making the customer think. Think about your unique value proposition. Don't give them a headache about trying to figure out what it is your business does. Make it really literal and really clear. And the sticky header follows on with that, right? You're making it easy for them to do the things you want them to do. We talked about that. And then very clear call to action. So give those buttons a nice bold color, really clear, and use them strategically around the site in the places that you want people to take action. And that wraps it up. So thank you very much to everyone for listening. I'll hand it back to Mike.
Thank you very much, Phil. I think that was fantastic as always. As you can see, you got a comment there from Stuart.
Thanks, Stuart.
Brilliant, Phil. Apparently, thank you. So got many ideas.
Awesome.
I know he's looking at his website at the moment, so I'm sure that's really
great.
helped. Just to let you know, everyone, with this webinar as well, I'll be saving it and putting it up onto the YouTube channel as well. So if you want to go back and kind of remember any of the stuff that that we've talked about, it'll all be on there. I'm sure Phil will be available if anyone's got any quick questions at any point, whether that's now or in the future. And he's always available, which is great. So unless anyone's got any questions before we finish, I can't see any. Thankfully, my Wi-Fi managed to hold out, Phil, for the whole thing. So I managed to hear it all, even with a small 5-year-old on Zoom now as well. But managed to get through it, which is great. So I want to thank you very much. Like I said, I'll get it onto the YouTube page, and people will be able to access it. So thank you everyone for attending. Hope you found it useful. And again, thank you, Phil.
Thanks, Mike.
Cheers, guys.
See you guys.